Okay, today I want to talk about the anatomy of a top 5 class in the recruiting rankings. All that's coming up after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. And today, I want to talk about a top 5 recruiting class because I have been skeptical of whether or not Oklahoma can pick up a top 5 recruiting class. And I put Ohio State and Alabama and LSU in the mix in here because I think they all can teach us something. Even Michigan can teach us something. I mean, even Ole Miss actually contributes to this lesson. But I want to start with the number, right? And you could get this number just by doing an average. If you take the average score over the past 5 years, that is 2020 to 2016, you'll get an average of what you need to hit to get a top 5 recruiting class in the recruiting rankings. And that number is 289.36, right? So there's your number. Now, how you going to hit it? What does that class usually look like? Well, Michigan kind of messes up the math, right? Because in 2017, they had 30 commits, which is about 5 more than you normally get into the boat, right? 30. Of those 30 commits, 19 were 4 stars, which is an enormous number, especially when you take into account that 21 of their 30 commits were 4 or 5 stars. 4 or 5 stars are blue chips. Stay woke for them. So from that, we can kind of sort of keep them in here, but also acknowledge that they are sort of an anomaly, right? Also in there, Ole Miss, right? And Ole Miss's score in 2016 was 296.03, which is a big number. It's actually higher than Ohio State's in 2020, which I'll get to here in a second. But they also had 26 commits in the boat, and of those 26, 3 were 5 stars, and they had 15 blue chips. So that means 12 4 stars, 3 5 stars. That's a really great class. Then moving on to Alabama 2018, because we just talked about Michigan in 2017, they took the 5th spot with 22 commits, just 2 5 stars, but among 22 commits, when you usually take in 23, that's a pretty good ratio, and that's exactly what we've come to expect from Alabama. As a matter of fact, that's like the worst year that Nick Saban has had over the last decade, finishing 5th in the recruiting rankings. Meanwhile, Oklahoma hasn't finished 5th in the recruiting rankings this decade. Get to that in a little bit. The 2019 LSU class finished 5th with 25 commits, 14 blue chips, for a score of 284.06. I should also mention the Alabama score was 289.94, or right there around that average. Now, LSU took that 5th spot basically by having one more commitment than Oklahoma did in its 2019 class, where it finished 6th with 24 commits to LSU's 25. And of those 24, 16 were blue chips for Oklahoma. So 2/3 of the class, 66% of the class, was a 4-star or better, and 3 of those were 5 stars. This class also famously has Spencer Rattler and Jaden Hazelwood and Theo Weiss, among others, in it. So right now, it's like my favorite class because I know many of the personalities and many of the guys in that class, and I really do enjoy watching them play football, and I really enjoy getting to know them. Now, the score for that Oklahoma class was 279.28, right? Again, with 2 more blue chippers than LSU did in a 24-man class. Basically, put another commit in there at 4 stars, and you probably take that 5th spot from LSU. So now we get to 2020 with Ohio State, which had a lower score, right, than Ole Miss did in 2016. That 2020 class for Ohio State score was 295.08. Remember, the Ole Miss class was 296.03, right? But it also had 1 more commit in it than Ohio State. So we can make an argument that you give another commit of equal weight to Ohio State, they probably get that point, right? And then some. But they also had 3 5 stars in there of their 17 blue chips, which is, again, a tremendously good ratio. So from this, we can ascertain that you need at least 14 blue chips, right? And you need at least 2 5 stars with a score of 289.36 to end up in the top 5 of the recruiting rankings, given what the past 5 years have looked like. I didn't look at the last 10 years because I think recruiting has changed in such a way that the evaluations have changed, and so has the way in which we recruit players, which means I need to do another NIL segment at some point. But right now I want to stick with this. So for Oklahoma, who has 4 4 stars of its 7 commits in the boat, and 1 top 100 composite player, right, in Clayton Smith. Also, depending on how you feel about Mario Williams, he should be there. He's just not in the top 247. I don't make the rankings. I know that both Rivals and ESPN are very high on Mario Williams, and perhaps we'll see some moving and shaking with how he is evaluated. But I doubt it until football season, right? We're going to see the valuations come fast and furiously in football season because usually we use this period, basically from February all the way to August, to do another round of evaluation. We're just not going to have it because of the virus. So if Oklahoma can continue to recruit and get commitments at the level it's been getting, which is 4 commits in the last 3 months, it ought to be okay. But it's really difficult for folks to feel good about it when you look at what else is going on. I mean, Cincinnati has more commits, twice as many commits as Oklahoma, and is ahead in the rankings, right? Same thing with Minnesota, and then Rutgers, and then Maryland, right? Those are all in the top 25 of programs. Now, we don't expect that to change. I mean, Alabama is at number 48, and I will bet your house, my house, everybody's house that Alabama does not finish number 48 in the recruiting rankings as much as I would like to see them get a jump on this thing and see what's going on. As Tennessee has 24 commits in the boat before June 1, I don't think that's a great strategy. I think that's the opposite of what Alabama's doing, and I think they're going to get rated at some point, but we'll wait on that, right? Ohio State seems sustainable with their 18 commits. They're all pretty much locked in. The kids that haven't visited can't wait to visit, like Travion Henderson. I think they're going to be okay. It's a pretty solid class. North Carolina's still waiting on a 5-star, which I find interesting, right? Because they got a bevy of 4-stars in there. I want to say they got like 14 in there presently. Clemson's going to be Clemson. They're recruiting at a high level. LSU continues to creep up. Texas is being Texas. They'll be there. So for Oklahoma to get in there, I did some math, right? And this is fantasy football portion of this thing. And I know Ohio State fans are once again going to get pissy because I've included Emeka Egbuka in these things to try to round it out more than anything else, right? Now, we all understand that Emeka is in Ohio State lean. We all know that Berm has said, look, his dad wants to come to campus before he commits and ain't going to be able to get to campus for several months. Or at least 3 months. So let's just go from there. But there are basically 5 different ways of looking at this that I put together, and they're pie in the sky or whatever. But I went with the guys that Oklahoma wants the most right now to try to catch them up to where Ohio State is with 18 commits, right? I'm not putting together 25-person classes in May. I'm just not going to do it. But I would put 18 up there because between 14 and 18 feels like where you should be right now if you're going to be a top 5 program in May going into June. All right. So with just Caleb Williams, Kamar Wheaton, David Abiara, Bryce Foster, Emeka Egbuka, Christian Leary, and Latrell McCutcheon, you're looking at 15 total commits with a score of 260.79, right? And to compare that to what's going on here presently with the recruiting rankings, I want to say North Carolina is number 4 with 15 commits, right? And their score is 234.74. Clemson is 3rd with 252.44 points and 13 commits to what I have as 15 for Oklahoma. So that's what we're working with. USC at number 5 with 13 commits at 220.99. Now, it's moving and shaking because Florida's got 17 in the boat. They'll keep moving up. LSU's got 12 in the boat. They'll keep moving up. And I mentioned that Texas with 10 in the boat will keep moving up. And as you continue to look at this thing, if I add LJ Johnson to this thing, right, and give Oklahoma the 2 tailbacks that they seem to want the most right now, you get to a score of 272.53 with 16 commits. If you add Tristan Lee to that list, you get a score of 283.95 with 17 commits. And then if you add Marcus Burrs to this, you get a score of 290.93 with 18 commits. So at 290.93, you'd basically be right on the heels of Ohio State, but you'd still be 11 points behind just to show you how good they have been. But that's what happens when you have 15 blue chips in the boat, and 4 of them are 5-stars. My goodness. Average score 95.34. Get on with your bad self, Ohio State. Meanwhile, Clemson with 94.55 is just right there, like just doing what they do out there in South Carolina. And then looking at Georgia at 94.05 with 8 commits in the boat, 1 more commit than Oklahoma, and a full 11 spots ahead of Oklahoma at 16. Oklahoma's 27. That is the kind of place that you should be recruiting at. That is the reason why Georgia football is still very much on everybody's mind and expected to finish in that top 5. So if you add a 5-star tailback, a 5-star quarterback, a 4-star defensive end, a 4-star guard, a 5-star wide receiver, you're looking at perhaps getting those 3 5-stars that you wanted if you got Williams, Wheaton, and Egbuka, right? And Egbuka is a severe question mark for Oklahoma at this point. And you need at least 2 to get to that top 5. So let's say you get Caleb Williams and Kamara Wheaton, which is not out of the question. You still need to finish strong. You still need to have about 12 blue chips in there, which means you need to add at least 8 more 4 stars to this class, plus the 2 5 stars to get a shot at hitting that 289.36 mark, or to finish with what you need in those 25 commits to get to a top 5 ranking. And the reason that I brought this up is because I had asked earlier in a Twitter post for folks to ask me, do you think that Oklahoma's going to finish with a top 5 recruiting class? To which 70% of folks said, yeah, I do. And y'all are really optimistic, more optimistic than me. Maybe it's just because I work so closely with this stuff, but I'm here for your optimism. I like positivity. I like the good vibes. I hope this was helpful. I got to sit and think about this for a little while, so yeah, I hope that shows. All right, doses.